Hey, I just saw Kenobi, finished watching the whole first season. This is going to be my review of that because I really enjoyed it and I want to talk about it a little bit. So, I'm going to start out with some non-spoilers, and then as this video goes on, I'll eventually give a warning. If you haven't seen it yet, maybe you want to pause this video, go watch it. It's only 6 episodes. Come back and let me know what you think or whatever, but this is what I thought. So, overall, when I first started watching Star Wars, I was 4 years old, and our mother took us to see it at the theater back in the 1970s, and it had just arrived. So that's how long I've been a fan, and actually, this series paid off in some ways for me because it answered a couple of questions, maybe, well, definitely one that I've always had. So that was really nice. This is kind of a series that I didn't know I wanted. Pleasantly surprised, and it's sort of like The Mandalorian. And I feel like one of the best lines of the entire show kind of sums up how I feel about this for Disney Star Wars right now. Uh, and that line was, your strength has returned, but the weakness remains. Well, I think that's poignant, and I think that Disney should listen to that. I see a lot of strengths here, but I also see some major flaws, Disney. You need some work here. However, that said, it was so much fun to watch Ewan McGregor reprise this role again. I have so much fun watching him uh, play Obi-Wan. It was a great time. Not just because it's Ewan McGregor, because it's Ewan McGregor playing Alec Guinness playing Obi-Wan. And I think that's really neat because Alec Guinness in A New Hope, Star Wars A New Hope, the very first one, it was remarkable actually. Very simple role, but I thought he brought a lot to it. I still do. That was such a fun role to watch. Probably not to play, but to watch. And I think that Ewan McGregor does such a wonderful job embodying this presence that Alec Guinness had. There's some big shoes to fill. Uh, his accent, his body language, his facial expressions. It's very thoughtful, and it's a lot to appreciate and a lot to take in. And I do appreciate it, and it's a joy to watch it because that's an actor that really enjoys his craft, and I enjoy it too. I think that's why people like to watch drama and why people enjoy actors, right? Is to see this complete transformation, but he doesn't just transform himself into this character. It's so specific that he transforms himself into this, he ingratiates the role with a little bit of that Alec Guinness presence, and I appreciate that as a longtime fan. Uh, so it's good that I think that some of this explains a little bit of maybe that last meeting that Obi-Wan has with Vader in A New Hope. It fulfills some of the unspoken conversation in that last meeting uh, before Obi-Wan, dies in A Last Hope. So if you've never really experienced Star Wars and you would like to get a feel for this character Kenobi, I think that if you were just going to watch one Star Wars movie to do that, I would recommend watching A New Hope, that very first one, because I think that that is the one where you get to see Alec Guinness in the role and you get to feel how we all felt the first time we met him. And another really great companion, if you don't have a lot of time to watch the other movies and get a deeper feeling for who Obi-Wan Kenobi is. And I'll link it in the comments below, or not in the comments, but in the description of the video. I'll link it on YouTube. Is this video, it's another YouTube video. It's called Obi-Wan Kenobi Has PTSD. And at first, when I first saw that, I thought it was going to be a parody. and it's not. It's not at all a parody. It's actually just kind of a little bit of a fans editing cut together scenes of some of the movies and some of the scenes. And it's actually pretty serious, and you see that this is a character that has PTSD. And I think that that's wonderful because that's a lot of that's I think that Ewan McGregor brings that to the role as well. And I think that in this case, almost intentionally at this point. So I can't say enough good about that. Okay, so anyway, on to the next thing. It was really also wonderful to see Hayden and Ewan together again. Now, a lot of these newer characters, I should say, like the third sister or fifth brother. I don't really know these people. And while I think they did a great job with their roles, I was really, every time that they were on screen, I was just waiting to see Obi-Wan or Vader again. I really, it was that good. It was that much fun to watch him. So, when it comes to villains, I think Vader's one of the best. Hands down. I think it's great to see these two characters, these two actors chewing the scenery together. Uh, it was just so much fun. And I think that that's why my next critique, which is not a spoiler critique, I think we all know it's Star Wars. There's some fight scenes, right? So this critique is especially difficult because I really was looking forward to seeing some fancy footwork, and I don't think there was enough. And what there was great. However, and this isn't just a Star Wars critique. This is kind of a Hollywood critique. So Hollywood cinematographers, listen up. When you're filming action, us action fans are there to see the action. And what I mean by that is during fight scenes and fight choreography, there's certain footwork and there's a certain art to it where I want you to place me like more on the front row of a stage so that I can see what these actors have prepared for me to see. I don't need you to cut, and this is to editors as well, I don't need that cut 13,000 times while I'm trying to watch a scene. It gets very disorientating. And I don't need to see it from every angle. I it's like that scene. There's some scenes in this show that seem to exist just to pay for all the cameras. So they're going to use them all because they were all very expensive cameras and drones or whatever to get these shots. So they had to use all the shots, right? And it starts to get to be like this mishmash of all these cut together. It's almost dizzying. Stop it. Stop it, Hollywood. Stop it. This doesn't need to be like that. Remember the scene on the top of the cliffs of insanity from The Princess Bride? Remember that scene with Inigo Montoya and Wesley? Do that. More of that, please. This was really a disappointment because, we wait that many years to see these two guys fighting again or whatever, even other people fighting in an action movie. And we're not given kind of what could have been a real classic moment. People forget that, Star Wars was an award-winning movie. It won many awards, Oscars even. And like now we get these, I don't know, choppy fight scenes, and it's kind of one of two things. Either you got lazy or over enthusiastic in the editing room, or the photographer, the cinematographer got too excited about drones and stuff, or and I don't think this is true necessarily for this situation, or the actors aren't prepared enough and can't fight. That's the only other reason I can think of to do this on purpose. To cut away from their big action scenes and take out the full body shots and just add in. Now, don't get me wrong, some close-ups are necessary and cool and they look awesome, and please keep doing that, yes. But we don't need it as much throughout the whole fight. it gets hard to see what they're doing. It gets hard to see where they are in relation to one another. It just overall takes away from the experience of being, like I said, being able to see two actors on a stage, just like choreography. Like, you wouldn't do this for a dance, would you? So, yeah, back off. So that's my recommendation for that. My next thought here isn't so much a complaint at all. It's a little bit of a critique, but not for Kenobi. It's more of a critique from The Last Jedi, actually. Um, it was really nice to see Ewan McGregor get respected. That they had enough respect for his embodiment in that role and his work that he's spent studying this role and preparing for it, that they allowed him to be part of the writing process and part of the creative process that they did not allow to Mark Hamill in The Last Jedi. Wow. What a difference it makes, right? What a difference when you take someone who's embodied this role, slept in it, breathed it, you know, and embodied this whole identity that they've created, right? And you add that sort of insight to the writing. Wow, that's a nice difference. And I don't want to give anything away, but I saw some of that come through in some of, I think, in just the way that this character was treated is so different than we saw in any of, I would hazard to say, in any of those sequels, of those sequel movies. The Disney movies, yeah, what they did to our main characters, wow, wow. But Kenobi kind of, like I said, it's that statement about, like, well, your strength is returned, but that weakness still remains. Um, that it's going to take a lot to make up for that. So that's just one more thing that I really liked about this was that they let the actor, the main, the character actor that made this character be what it is, and let him have some say. That's great. That's great. That's creative. That's collaborative. That's beautiful. That's not egos getting in the way. I like that. So, because Obi-Wan Kenobi is one of the most, if not the most, tragically romantic character. I hazard to say maybe even more so than Padme, because at least Padme got released from the agony of it all. But Obi-Wan has, like, well, Ewan McGregor types twice now in, like, cinema history or whatever that he's had, like, Satine die on him. So it is just this inherently very tragic story overall. So, because, he evokes that memory of Moulin Rouge too, so he brings a lot of layers to this lonely, hermetic life. Like you know, uh, he's kind of a hermit in a way where we find him uh, when this show starts. So he's kind of a loner. But this is not necessarily a person who's a loner by nature. This is a person who was very social and cared very much for people. So you don't get the feeling that he's, oh, yay, I'm alone now. He's, so he's got this tragic personality, and it's very romantic. That he cares about people. When I say romantic, I don't necessarily mean in love with somebody. I mean just that ability to form intimate relationships with people. Very human, and he genuinely loves people. I don't know. He's just this very tragically romantic, optimistic person uh, that runs into a lot of difficulties, and it's just so easy to love him for it. It's so easy to fall in love with that character, like not romantic love either, just like, well, like I said, more of a platonic thing, but he just has this air about him that I love watching, even though we know it's not going to be like the happiest ending. I'm endeared to this character very much. So maybe even more than Padme and Anakin. So It turns out for me, Obi-Wan has kind of been maybe the main character all along for me. So I really like him and I love seeing this again. So this is really nice. Um, so there's a couple of things that I see in this show that, for me personally, um, are kind of complaints. I guess critiques, you could say. So I'll try to keep this as spoiler free as possible. When I get to the spoiler parts, I'll let you know. But one of the worst problems with this, I'm just going to say it right off the bat. I love all the actors. Please, please don't hear me wrong. The actors are great. They did a great job. They brought 150%. But, the third sister, see, I feel like they took all of the cool Vader role and then realized, oh, we have a lot of Vader here. Is it too much Vader, maybe? Maybe we'll take away from his badassness or something, you know? But for whatever reason, they took what maybe should have been a lot of Vader's role and gave it to a much more boring character. And that's not because she didn't bring it. Like I said, the actress is fantastic. But let's just say some questionable writing. Now, overall, I still like the show, and I would still watch the show. But this villain, this third sister, has uh, a lot of screen time. She's the B plot, following her situation, and I have to say she's predictable. There were quite a few moments that I felt oh, blah 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 is going to happen, and it did. So she's very transparent, so she's not the deepest character. They gave her kind of an easy but yet interesting backstory. I do appreciate an interesting backstory, but I feel they wasted it a little because there's some of her motivations are not fully explained. Some of them seem a little wishy-washy at times, and other times you're just like, ugh. They just basically, it just seems like they had too much Vader at some point, and someone said, "Can you just make that a different character?" And they just sort of made this. Anyway, the actress, she's not given a lot to work with. I'm sorry to say, but she does. She brings it. She's great. I have no problem with her. I just think that her scenes might have been meant at first to be Vader's scenes, and he's a hard guy to write for, and he doesn't stay as scary. The more you see him, the more he speaks, the less scary he gets, maybe. You know, so there's a lot of good reasons to maybe not make her the focus. But still, she was kind of disappointing. So I just chalked that up to lazy writing for most of it, and some lazy costuming too, because she's surrounded by some very exotic characters, very fun characters to look at, just eye candy, and then she's kind of the plain one. Her look is very Earth-like. There's really nothing surprising or fun about her look. It's kind of, it sort of looks like a Marvel outfit. She's got, no pockets. It's not all spandex, but you know, she's got a cute figure and she's a pretty girl, and they do show that off a little, but she's got a long cape so they don't overdo it, I guess. But at the same time, I just feel like they did her a disservice because she's surrounded by all these interesting looking alien characters, right? And they've got really cool costumes, and they've got, they could have just even a bracer on her wrist that has buttons or something. I don't know. I'm not a costuming expert. I just know that I was bored. I was bored looking at her. She wasn't that much to look at because there's just not that much to her costume. She could have been a Xena character. She could have been, a Marvel character. She could have been any sci-fi character. She didn't look particularly space-like. She didn't look particularly Star Wars-like, which is fine. Not everybody has to look, I don't know what Star Wars look is exactly, but she just looked sort of, I don't know. I feel sad for her cosplayers. Well, maybe they're lucky. They don't have a lot of work to do, I guess. So, but yeah, she seemed like a lot of lazy, like, she seemed like an afterthought almost. I know that sounds really bad because she took up the main B plot. So, yeah, like, but there's no nicer way to say it. There was just some lazy writing around her, and I'll get into that more later in a moment. So, those were the main thoughts I had, but other than that, this was really really fun to see, and it was fun to see these guys working and duking it out together again. But from here on, we're going into spoiler territory. So, I do recommend the show. If you haven't seen it yet, pause this video, but definitely go. It's like 6 videos. It's got 6 episodes. So go see it and then come back to this maybe later and hear out the rest of the review. Okay? So with that, you've had your fair warning. Spoilers coming in 3, 2, 1. All right. So the first major thing that I want to complain about was this whole concept of fake Jedi. Why, when the Jedi are being hunted, why would you like put a target on your back like that if you're trying to rip people off and you don't want to tip off the cops anyway? Why would you tell people you're a Jedi? I mean, just tell them you're like, I'm with anything else. I don't know. I'm a Potter is better than I'm a Jedi. I'm a well-connected pottery expert. Anything, but not I'm a Jedi. Why even? I just think that the writers had some cool ideas at times that they threw in that felt very random. Like, where are we going to ever put this fake Jedi guy? Oh, here, let's put him here. You know? I don't know. He just didn't fit. And I didn't like it. And I thought it was kind of just for the whole storyline is, oh, if you see a Jedi, kill it, you know? And then this guy who's pretending to be a Jedi. Like, how is that not raising more suspicion because he's doing illegal things, you know? Anyway, that's a writing critique, I think. Also, back to this lady villain, this third sister chick. Okay, so we knew ahead of time that she's already going to flip to the good side, at least for a while. She's going to flip against Vader because they showed her as a kid. And I don't know, there's just something about that, right? Where you see the kid and then you're like, oh, this is a character they're going to try to redeem maybe. Well, yeah. You can kind of see it coming just from the start. And like I said, she gives 100%. It's just what she was given to work with. The lines, just the way they set it up. So I have some questions. First of all, as she's chasing Leia down through the secret passage that they've established already as like the one way to get to this pilot. And so third sister goes in and the lady's defending the kid because she leaves the kid. She's got to go back and she defends her. And Leia has like this big head start. And then the third sister like shows up with the pilot already dead, like way ahead of Leia. Like, did she teleport? How did she get there? I asked like in some online forum. The only answer I really got was, oh, she took the other way. Well, then why did Leia go that way? It was the dumbest. Like, that's a weird thing because her character does this. Her character has this magic, I'm here now because this is where I'm supposed to be. She has this like ex machina thing where she's just where she's supposed to be because they said so. And it sometimes doesn't make sense. Like, okay, so Vader spares her life as a child. They don't explain it really why. Like, why her specifically. But then they do it again in the show. He spares her life, which is mercy. Like, why is he doing that? Because she just betrays him. And then he spares her life and leaves her on this planet. Why? He's like, they don't explain it. They never even try. And then he leaves her on this planet. Well, she shows up later. How'd she get off the planet? They never say. So anyways, they just really, like I said, she shows up in places where they just want her to be without really explaining how she got there or anything. So yeah, she's got magic powers that are more than just Jedi powers, and I don't understand, but they keep doing this, and I don't like it. So that's a big critique, I think. They also did a really bad chase scene with Leia early in the show, where she's being kidnapped by these, I don't know, this team of bandits or bounty hunters or some odd thing. Anyways, they cannot get their crap together. One of them even holds his arms up as he's like running into a tree instead of just running around the tree. like runs against this tree and then falls down. It's like goofy. It's just goofy. And they've got Leia doing this little jog. She by no means is she actually trying to get away from anything because she's running kind of lazily. La, la, la. Yeah, they told me to run. And adults watching the dailies went, okay. They went for it. I'm like, just use a blowgun or something. Just a little dart. And then she passes out and falls down. Then they just take her. They didn't need to waste the time filming this thing. It was a terrible idea. But once they saw how it was going, I don't know why they chose to leave it in. Because it went really badly. And I'm worried for this kid. I mean, I'm, the Jake Lloyd thing. So I'm worried that they have this kid and any weird thing that they have her do that might come back at her. I don't want her to get like drug addict and end up in jail or something like that, right? So, like, we want to treat kids nicely. So don't make them look like idiots when you put them in your shows. Okay, so that's just, don't open her up to more bullying. If you're gonna do a scene that's not working, rework it. Just figure out a different way, because that was just silly. Frankly, just silly. And if there's some other explanation for what was going on there that they're going to put out in a book that explains why these trained bounty hunters were such buffoons, yeah, that doesn't fly with me because this stuff should be standalone. I watch the movies. I see some of the shows that aren't in the theaters, but yeah, I'm not the Star Wars fan that's like reading everything. What I watch, I expect to understand by itself. I don't expect to walk away with more questions. Uh, so that's really what I need to say about that, and like a need to say it. And then I guess one of the funnest things about it, though, and I think that this was, I don't know, was that explanation of why Obi-Wan didn't give really much in the way of effort in his fight with Vader during A New Hope. I always wondered about that, even as a kid, like what's going on with that? And as I got older, I learned more about like Jedi and wisdom, but still, it always kind of bothered me that they didn't just kind of go right back into their old fighting with their lightsabers flashing. Yeah, this gave it a much more thoughtful reason with the way that the whole thing ended up. And I really, it's more, I don't even know how to put it into words, that he has not a hatred, but almost like he feels pity for Vader that killed his friend. But it seemed like Vader was actually goading him at the end to kill him. Like Vader's trapped in the suit. This is his life now, and it seemed like he wanted Obi-Wan to kill him. And I think Obi-Wan was like, "No, I'm not doing that. You're not dragging me down with you." And he walks away. And I think that's the best he could do, is that walk away thing, I guess. But man, that left me feeling bad for him, like a little tear in my eye, like, oh, Obi-Wan again with this whole losing your friends and stuff. And it was a nice, almost a shock to see Hayden, Vader, like using his force abilities again. That was incredible. It was a rush. I loved that final fight they had. That was amazing. I had so much fun watching that. That's what you come for, that last fight. And again, back off with the cameras. Just let them have their fight. And those few moments with the rocks flying and stuff, yes, those close-ups were absolutely appropriate and necessary, and I loved it. Chills just thinking about it. But you gotta get over the whole like close up, and all these cuts. I don't know what's going on after a while. So like if you don't have more of these faraway shots, we don't feel connected to the fight and the action. And when you're an action fan, and I am, I like to see well choreographed action, like a dance almost. So that's my one biggest probably complaint about the whole show. Other than that, I think I would give it like a 7 out of 10 because that's how much fun I had watching it. So, and a 10 would be like Empire Strikes Back, and a 1 would be like all of Jar Jar's scenes. Okay, so that's my take on Kenobi. Did you see it yet? What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What were your critiques? I would love to hear about it in the comments below. And if you're interested in more reviews, why don't you subscribe? All right, have a great day. Bye.